3,
Yay.
2, 1. That was
No,
perfect.
we need one. Well, we need
No,
one clap.
that was perfect, was it
It's
not?
just 2 claps.
You do it too.
No,
I need
we
one clap.
clapped right at the right time.
No, it needs to be
You clap,
one
you
clap.
You
Okay.
clap. You
One
Okay,
clap.
we need one clap. We can do it again, but were
No,
those not
you do
in
it.
time? They
You
were
do
in
it.
time.
It was a little bit off.
Here we go. Ready?
No, that was bad.
Just
clap.
just
3, 2, 1.
all right. That was pretty good.
Yeah.
Okay. What's going on? Welcome to Please. Wait, what's the name of it? Fuck.
Please tag me.
Please tag me.
I was gonna say please tag us, but like, I
Please
guess.
tag me.
Sorry, I literally We are 3 touring professionals. I handle a lot of photography and videography on the road with a lot of bands. I've worked with currently AJR, Casey Musgraves, the Lumineers, Hosier, and I've been doing this for about, I guess, man, I think I'm on like year 6 or 7. I actually can't think of it just off the top of my head. And I'm Austin Roa.
I'm Emily Pereira.
And I'm Amanda Laferriere.
That's it. I almost thought there was like a, and I'm saying like someone's like, oh shit, like,
And this
like
is
a fourth
Intro
person.
music.
Yeah.
We need a theme song.
Nope, that's it though.
What's kind of cool is I don't know if you guys didn't, but I met the both of you on the same day.
No, it's
Coincidentally.
crazy. Yeah, it was
that was at Shaky Knees Festival 2019.
2019. Yeah.
June or May 2nd or 1st. I remember it almost to the day. May.
And we
Yeah.
were all doing different things, which
Yeah.
is fun because we're all doing similar
Yeah.
but different things now.
No,
too.
yeah. Well, it's crazy. I mean, we definitely didn't meet that day, but I remember I was just attending the festival. You were working.
Yep.
And I DM'd you because I loved your work. I was like, hey, are you here? I would love to say hi. And then, yeah, it was crazy. I remember very vividly meeting you and asking you,
Yeah,
hey,
me too.
like, I want to tour. Like, do you have any advice for me? And so it's crazy that now we're here, 5 years later?
Five.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so wild.
No,
Almost
that's insane.
6.
Yeah,
Almost
almost
6.
6.
Really crazy.
It'll be 6 this upcoming year.
Wow. And
yeah,
now
I
you're
remember
touring
that.
and you have your whole next year booked.
I know.
Yeah.
And you just got back from tour
I did.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was just out with
like weeks ago.
Dayglow, which was
Yep.
actually my first tour doing only photo video ever. I've been touring for like 2 years now, and every tour that I've done, it's been some combination of photo video merch, photo video tour managing, VIP coordination, some sort of combo deal. And this Dayglow tour was the first time that I was only doing content. It's crazy. I just got back like 4 weeks ago, and this is the longest I have been in one place this entire year.
Yeah, man,
It's
I
crazy.
know how that feels. Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's wild. I mean, because you've also been going pretty hard.
Yeah,
like,
there was a good while. I mean, it was pretty much up until COVID. I started out touring with this artist named Jade Bird, and then I went from her to Robert DeLong, and then he was opening up for AJR, and then that's how I started working with AJR, and then from there went back to Jade Bird, then to Hosier, then back to AJR, then to Lumineers, and then COVID hit, and then
Oh, but like you continued working with them throughout the pandemic.
yeah, throughout the pandemic, I continued doing stuff here and there with the AJR guys, and then the same thing with the Lumineers. I remember they did some acoustic performance where Wes and Jer, who are the singer and the drummer for the Lumineers, they were both in their houses and they made something like separately, and then I had to take it, but they just filmed it on their iPhone, and I put it together, and it was for the Tonight Show. Like it was literally, like I put it together for the Tonight Show. Do you remember that? And then
of course I remember that because we pulled it up and we were like,
we literally, I was just like, this is kind of a weird thing that's
so cool.
gonna just be on TV or whatever.
They also had like a live streamed concert though that you edited together. Remember? Yeah, you spent like a week or something like nonstop editing that.
Oh my God, you're right.
I know I'm right.
Holy, it was the holy crap. You're right. Man, yeah, because they did like a whole COVID thing. Holy crap.
That's so
great
wild.
memory.
I do have a great memory.
That's so wild.
Yeah, but not to like deter from what you were saying. Like my life got so busy,
totally,
and then it sort of stopped, but then kind of was going throughout COVID, and then once it slowed down again, and then picked back up, and that's just what touring is.
It's how it goes, and it's something that I've really kind of picked up on these last 2 years because Yeah, I met you in 2019, and my whole plan, I was still in college, and my whole thing was, once I graduate, I'm going to tour. I'd wanted to tour since I was 15. This December is 10 years since I shot a show for the first time, and it was like in a backyard.
Wait, how many years did you say?
10. So in like 2.5 weeks, it's the 10-year anniversary of like the first show I ever shot.
You're shooting a lot longer than I have.
Crazy.
No, but that's something we should touch on too. I want to keep talking about like your trajectory, but what's cool, what's crazy about Austin is like he was only video for so long, and he only started photography to be able to tour. So a lot of people like us,
it's the opposite.
You've been doing show photography for like 10 years. I started doing portraits and events. And I started that in high school. I don't know, it was probably like 2011, 2012 when I started photography, but I didn't start concert photography until the pandemic. Actually, I started it during the pandemic.
That's so interesting.
Yeah.
That's so cool. You said that you've been doing this for 10 years. Like, who all have you toured with? Like, what all do you do on the road?
Yeah, when I started 10 years ago, it was my stepbrother's band, and the first show was in a backyard, and I shot for them for like a year before they broke up, and I thought that was it. It was like, oh, my music photography career is over. It's done for. They were it. Not the case. I got hired by a local band right after I worked with them. And I was with them for a few years, and through them I met so many other people like in the Central Florida music scene. I learned so much. My first tour was with them. It was in an SUV. I was a senior in high school. We did like 2 weeks on the East Coast. It was crazy. My mom had to have a meeting with my high school principal to like excuse the absences.
It's pretty rock and roll. It's awesome.
It was very
School of Rock.
Yeah. That's literally School of Rock.
It's also so funny because at the time I remember thinking like, oh, this is like the most normal thing to ask my parents to do for me in the world. But I did that. I worked with them for a while, like into college. Throughout college, I was going to shows in Central Florida every weekend. I was working for a few different music publications, and just kind of taking any opportunity I could to be at a show and be taking photos. And I was also so persistent about letting literally everyone that I talked to know that I wanted to be touring, asking for advice when I met you, just like asking anyone and everyone that I could about like how to get started. And my whole plan was once I graduated college to really give 100% to touring. And then I graduated in 2020, so that didn't really happen. And then 2021 came around. I was working a normal kind of 9-to-5 job. And then Flip Turn, who I had met kind of going to shows in Central Florida. They're a band from Florida. They asked me to go on tour with them at the end of 2021. I went on that tour. And then we did another tour at the end of 2022. And the first tour that we did, I was working my 9-to-5 from the road. And so I said, if I get another offer, I'm going to quit and tour full time. And now I've pretty much been on tour since 2022 fall.
Nice. Yeah. And you kind of touched on like, you know, and this is, you and I had a similar path of just like how many different things you had to do just to get on tour.
Oh, yeah. And I mean, so the first, again, up until this Dayglow tour, I've done some combination of photo, video. I've only done one tour where I've had one role, but across all the tours, the roles that I've done are photo, video, socials management, assistant tour managing, tour managing, merch managing, VIP coordination. And the first few tours that I did, it's kind of everyone has a hand in everything. Yeah. So I'm helping load in and load out. I'm helping with ordering food for everyone after the show and before the show. DIY touring is very much like everyone is doing everything. That's an insane amount. And your story is kind of interesting too, because you didn't
My story is very different.
You started.
Yeah. So I now tour doing production coordinating, photo, video, personal assisting, and assistant tour managing. But my road in getting there, I worked in like music business for 8 years before I ever started touring. Touring is very like new for me.
It's so different compared to like being in a
it's like basically I had to start fresh. Like I was almost 10 years into music business, and then I was like, I want to be my own boss. I'm gonna quit and start again and move to a different. Not only am I gonna start again, but I'm gonna move from the like Texas music scene, like that base, and I'm gonna move to New York. So not only am I starting again, but I also like can't use any of the connections really that I made during those 10 years.
Yeah,
so
you literally moved across the country, and you started working with Grace Potter pretty quickly.
I'll talk about it.
Okay, I was just trying to paint your picture a little. Yeah, but you go for it.
I've worked with Grace Potter, Regina Spektor. Right now I'm doing Regina Spektor and LCD Sound System. I was just touring with Vampire Weekend. So I've had a great, very fulfilled year of freelance. It's been like a very wild ride. I've been freelance for like a year and a half now. So still baby touring. But my story getting into it is very different. I met Austin in 2019 because I was doing artist relations for the music
you're driving us in the van when I was with Jadebird.
Yeah, so I picked him up in a golf cart from there. You guys, I think you weren't even on a bus, you were in a van, right?
We had just come back from London, and we had just done like our little British European tour.
Well, what's cool is I think when I met you, like you had just like begun, like you were starting, not in touring, but starting with like the big artists. Not but when I met you, you were about to start Hozier.
Yeah, I was literally weeks
like
away.
2 weeks away.
I was literally 2 weeks away.
You'd only toured with Robert DeLong and Jade at that point.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I was literally 2 weeks away from doing Hozier, and that one was pretty big because not that the artists that I had worked with beforehand like weren't anything, but
no, they're
I
great
think
artists.
there was like because he had Take Me to Church and like that first record was so big. Like he's a household name and like people knew who he was. And I think that was the difference was like going from a couple of artists that like have some kind of they have
notoriety.
There is success, there is notoriety, and then there's like that kind of next stage where
like your parents
know
this person
knows.
An artist that has a hit and you can just say the name and everyone knows who that artist
who it is.
Well, so I was doing artist relations. That was not my full-time job. My full-time job, I was the social media manager for the concerts department of this company. So I was doing social media, and then on site at festivals was doing artist relations. And at that point, I was like really done with marketing. I'd been in it for like 4 years, and I loved my team, but I was no longer fulfilled by my role. And I like realized I wanted to be more on the artist side.
Yeah,
like I feel like you guys came into it knowing you wanted to tour, and I didn't know that. I went in being like, oh my gosh, social media management for a music company, like dream role. And I started it like in college, and then they hired me full-time right out of college. So I was like, I didn't know I could like dream higher than that. And so when I started working artist relations at these festivals, and I was like intermixing with these people,
you were meeting a lot of people on the road, and
I like found out about roles that I grew up outside of the US. I don't know if that has anything to do with it, but like I didn't know you could work in music if you weren't a musician.
She grew up in Hong Kong, if you're wondering.
I grew up in Hong Kong. And so when I found C3, which is the company I worked for so long, I was like, oh my gosh, you can work in music without being the person on stage? That's crazy. And then going into artist relations, realizing like there's crews of people making these things happen. I think that's when I really was like, oh my gosh, like I want to be on the artist side. But
I remember that moment too, like seeing that and like.
But I thought I wanted to be on the artist side in like artist relations. So I made the jump during COVID to go from, I was in between like artist relations and management, and I made the jump for artist relations right after the pandemic. But what's cool is when we met, Jade was about to do a Scoot In show, and I was doing all the marketing for that show.
Nice.
And I was like, oh my gosh, like I'll see you there. And you were like, actually you won't. I'll be on tour with Hozier. And then you were like, and after that I'll be on tour with
AJR.
Yeah, you dropped AJR too. And I was like, I grew up a huge fan of AJR, so I was just like, who is this guy? Like,
that was the summer before the Neo Theater tour.
Wow.
Anyway,
I think like that's, I don't know, it's so cool that we all have come into it in like such different ways, and we all kind of ended up in like similar space. It's also interesting the way that, I don't know, the different relationships that we have with like different artists, because I feel like too, like you moved here, and I feel like pretty quickly like you started working with like really big names like when you jumped to freelance self-employment. And then like AJR has been kind of your main thing for
a
minute now.
Yeah, for years. Yeah. When I first started working with him, it was when I was working with Robert DeLong, and I was doing his merch, all of, all the socials and everything. And that was fall of 2018. And that's when he was also opening for AJR. And that was during the Click Tour, which was like, for any AJR fans that are listening, like that was such a defining album for them. Like I think in my personal opinion, like that's what really kind of like set them out in the scene. Like everyone knew Weak, everyone knew Burn the House Down, Sober Up. Like they had like these, I mean, that's how I found them, was like these massive radio hits.
I don't know that I knew that that's how you met them, actually, was working with Robert DeLong and like opening for them.
Yeah. Well, so, I mean, just long story short, I technically met Jack and Ryan.
Why don't we do the long story? Tell us how you got into touring. How did you get to this point?
Oh God. Let's do this. Long story. Oh God.
Long story medium.
Okay. Fine. Long story. Yeah. Long story medium. I saw Robert DeLong play at this old Houston festival called Free Press Summerfest, and that was in 2014.
R.I.P.
And
no longer exists.
I was there with another local band by the name of Blushes, who I don't think they're active anymore. I don't know if they'd be watching this, but they're really nice people.
Blushes.
And I just saw this guy playing with a Wiimote controller that he turned into like a MIDI fighter or whatever, and he was playing in front of like 1,000 people on this small stage. And I had my camera and I just started recording it. Mm-hmm. And then by the time his show ended, I had seen a bunch of people coming out of the photo pit with cameras. And then I remember seeing more happening behind the stage. And instantly I was like, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to fucking do that. Whatever that is, I'm going to do it. Mm-hmm. I was 19 at the time. And it wasn't, until another like 3 or 4 years later where I finally, fast forward a lot of time, I met Jack and Ryan at Hangout Fest. And I was there. I was shooting video with Hippocampus. And I'd kind of done the same thing with them. I was a huge fan, saw them at South by, and I was being so annoying. I was just showing up like, do you guys need video? Let me just make you something. Here, just take it. Just take it. You don't even need to, just take it and use it. Don't pay me, just take it. Mm-hmm. And, they were playing there. And so I was like, great, that'll be a great way for me to shoot more or whatever.
Yeah.
And I saw that AJR was playing. And I saw Jack and Ryan at the catering area. And I just said hi to them. And I was like, hey, I'm a big fan. I love what y'all are doing. I get it. I'm your target audience. This is just, it's really great. And they were like, oh, cool, thanks. That was the end of the conversation. Now, long story medium, fast forward a little bit of time, and I'm with Robert DeLong, and he's opening for AJR. And I bust through their dressing room, and I was just like, hey, like, I don't know if you guys remember me. I met you guys a few years ago. Can I just do your photo and video? And they were like, sure, okay. And I just did it, and I grinded every day, just doing merch, going back and forth constantly.
Yeah.
And then by the end of the tour, they were like, hey, what are you doing next year? You should come work with us. And then, fast forward up until now, and it was always this back and forth thing where I was always working with them, working with other artists, coming back to them. Mm-hmm. And then, 3 years ago, I just up and left Austin, got out of there, came to New York, and I reached out to them, and I was like, hey, like, there's more that I can do. There's more that I can bring to the table. I handle all of the content, and, I don't think it's in the shop, but there's at least
there's so much.
There's so many.
AJR,
There's a lot of AJR in here. I've got a lot. I was looking at the drives. It's just the amount of drives that I have.
Yeah.
It's just, wild. Their last however many years I have just their story, with me in cataloging.
Yeah.
But.
And I think that's really cool because even though you've been working with them for so long, there's still like so much growth and like so much that they've like trusted you with, and that's really cool.
Well, I just think it's so cool to see that we are 3 people who are in touring, and but it's still, we do such different things.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And in such different capacities. Our day-to-days are so
different.
Drastically different.
When you tell me, when you came in the 3 cities that I saw you during the Maybe Man tour, you were telling me about your day, I was like, wow, it's so different from mine.
It's so different. And again, like now that I've done a tour that's similar size like the Maybe Man tour, like it was still, my day-to-day on those 2 tours that were back-to-back, I had like 7 days between those 2 tours. My day on a tour that I did in the spring versus my day on a tour that I did in the summer was like drastically
I mean,
different.
I'm sure it's been a long time since you've had to do merch with photo and video. You've been photo and video
Years.
for a long time.
Yeah, it's been a long time.
But I think for me and Amanda, like, tours look really different for us depending on what we're doing too.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
Like, I'm sure, I feel like this is something we all talk about a lot, but like how some tours you have a lot of downtime and some don't. And it's really like, I kind of struggle with having a lot of downtime on tour.
No, same. So this tour that I did, even before the Dayglow tour this summer, I was with Delwater Gap, who has become kind of my main client right now. And we got to spend like 3.5-4 months this year supporting Niall Horan in arenas and amphitheaters all across the United States, Canada.
That's so cool.
Everywhere. And it was the most fun I've ever had. It was like...
Yeah, it just feels like summer camp.
No, it was literally summer camp. And it was so... And I had a lot of downtime, and at first it felt wrong. I was like, oh, what do you mean I have time for myself? Because I'd never had that before. My day had always been... Okay, wake up, load in, get merch situated.
Yeah, load in.
Maybe,
where can I set up?
Eat.
Maybe
not.
Maybe eat. I might not eat until, whatever. Like, tour manager hands
like,
you $20 of per diem, and you're like, great,
I can't use this. And then my day was so much. It was wake up, load in, get merch set up, maybe eat, go back to merch, doors open, sell, take photos, finish merch. Like, it was by the minute. Like, I had something going on from the minute I woke up until the minute I went to sleep. And so I did this tour this summer where I was waking up at like 10 or 11 a.m. It's a beautiful day outside.
Beautiful day. The birds are singing. No, like, actually, I don't need to be on the stage for another 8 hours.
I go find the coffee cart. I get myself a latte. And I was like, okay, guess I'll journal. Guess I'll read. Like,
maybe I'll send pictures. I don't know.
Like, guess I'll go hit a golf ball into the pond. Like, it was so different, and like,
so funny.
It was just so, again, like at the start I was like, what? Like, I'm doing something wrong. Like, I was like, oh, like I shouldn't have this much time. But it wasn't that. It was just, and it was a sentiment that was shared with like everyone that I was out with too. Like, we were all kind of like, oh, like, this is different. This is a level of touring that we are not used to.
Yeah. And
it's just so crazy how, my job title has kind of been the same through all of this, whether it's like, it's some combination of photo something, but I am like a touring photographer. Mm-hmm. And my job from month to month is so different. To bounce off of one thing that you said, though, that I kind of did leave out was like, where you said you would show up places. You said you were being annoying.
Show up.
I was the same way. I used to buy tickets to shows artists that I wanted to see in Central Florida. Yep. And I would put my camera in my car and I would go so early, and I just knew all of the venues from working the shows with the band at the time that I was working with. They were called Glasshouse Point, and like we had done a lot of smaller shows at these venues, and so I knew kind of where like the back entrance was and where like the touring artists park, and so I would park near there and just kind of hang out. If I saw them, I would just be like, hey,
what's up?
Huge fan.
They see you too. That's a big. They see you and they go, oh, I remember you, kind of.
So I would show up. I was like, hey, I have a ticket for tonight. I don't need a ticket. If you can just put me on the list with a photo pass, like I would love to come shoot. And most of these size rooms that they were doing, like a lot of these people didn't have touring people with them doing content. Yeah. So they were like, yeah, sure, whatever.
Do it, yeah.
And so I would get to shoot, and then I would add it to my portfolio. I would kind of make that connection. I did so much of that. I did so much DMing on Facebook, was still kind of relevant at the time. So I would message people on Facebook.
That was my thing too. Like when I was getting in, what's interesting is like, and I don't know if you share the same timeline, but Instagram for me wasn't what Instagram is today.
No,
it wasn't like, because you look at Instagram and there's so many more concert photographers now. Yeah, that's such a cool. Oh, like I got to be a concert photographer. Yeah. I have to make a living out of that, which is like, I didn't even want to try to make a living out of doing that. It was just, I just want to get on tour. Yeah. And if I can do one tour, I did it. Yeah. I fully made it. Mm-hmm. Obviously, I got lucky and then hard work mixed in with that, but like, going back to like the whole Instagram thing, it was posting on Instagram in 2014, 2015 was posting stupid shit of you and your friends.
Yeah.
You couldn't even post videos. I was giving videos to get posted on Facebook. Yeah, and like that was like circling back to what you're saying, like DMing on Facebook. Like I was doing the same thing. I was reaching out to, like, I remember when Macklemore blew up, he had this tour doc series, and I had found the guy that I was doing, and I was watching every episode, and I reached out to him. I was like, man, like, what did you do to get in? Like, how blah 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 blah. I mean, obviously he never got back, but like,
but but I would reach out to bands coming through, and I was like, hey, like, can I come take pictures? And
I think what's interesting is, like, you know, I think that both of you can like attest to this, is like I'll meet somebody like at a show or whatever, and like they kind of just want to get straight to the top, and they want to go straight to Sabrina Carpenter or like a Billie Eilish or whatever, and just start doing you know, like kind of whatever. And it's like, I don't know, I mean, you kind of have to.
I think it's so important to, like, I mean, at least for me personally, I think back to me in 2018, 2019, even then, like when I was like, I don't know, maybe younger, 2016, 2017. And in my head, I was like, oh, I'm ready to tour. I know all there is to know. Like, I'm ready to go.
I got this.
And now, exactly. And I was kind of one of those people where I was like, oh, like, I'm good. I could take like a major tour right now, and like, I'd be fine. And I remember feeling that way, and like I think back to that now, where I've been touring for 2 years, and I'm like, I didn't know anything. I would not have known what to do on an actual tour. Like, I think it was so helpful that I really started doing these very small, these very like DIY tours, because I learned so much. And I think even now, every tour that I do, I learn something new.
Yeah. You're really, I mean, you can definitely, that's all you right there.
Would hate to jump on a tour like immediately Billie Eilish level. Like, that scares me. But I say that as someone, I am lucky. I've only ever done bus touring. I've never done like a van tour.
Yeah.
I've done smaller venues, but for the most part they've all been like larger tours.
Yeah.
And I haven't done like photo video for all of them, but I've been on the road, and it's very daunting to start at that level.
It is.
Because everyone who's on the crew with you have been doing it for 30, 40 years.
Yeah.
And it's a tight group. They all started at club level.
Yeah.
And like have worked their way up to the arenas. And so like coming in at that level, I'm not saying I started with the arenas, but like my most recent tour was an arena. And it's just like, if you're fresh on the scene going into a crew like that, like, you're gonna get your ass handed to you. Can I say that on the podcast?
I mean, I've been cursing.
I
mean, what's cool with you is, I mean, for those of you who don't know, she just got on to tour with Vampire Weekend, and Bianca, who you and I know and we love very much. I mean, you had done, there was work beforehand, but...
Should I talk about how I got into touring?
Yeah.
I started working at C3. While I was working in artist relations after I transitioned, I was doing artist relations and travel coordination, and I learned so much in that role. Probably one of the hardest roles, actually, if not, that was literally the hardest role I've ever done in my life. I was on a team of 2. It was just like I'm like so thankful for it, but it was a sink or swim, and it was easy to sink, so you just like had to do your best to swim. And I learned so much in that, and because of that role, I can do production coordination. And when I was on site, because I was doing all artist relations for the major music festivals, Lollapalooza, Bonnaroo, ACL, and the smaller ones. Shaky Knees is my favorite. Shout out Shaky, that's where we all met. We didn't meet, but... I was
gonna say, you and I have the tattoo.
Yeah, we do.
Yeah.
Austin has a Shaky
tattoo.
Yeah,
on my thigh.
Everybody show your Shaky tattoo.
I can't.
Oh.
Yeah, I can't either. Mine's like right there.
Mine's also right there.
I'll show mine
it's
for
right
everybody.
there. And it's just a triangle. It's not anything special.
Mine's in a lightning bolt. Yeah.
See, I should have, like, the lightning bolt is cool.
The lightning bolt is the Shaky logo.
Oh.
Anyway.
I let that slip through my fingers.
But what was cool was, like, when I was once I've decided I wanted to tour, and I was interacting with all the tour managers and everything. Yeah. It was a lot of, like, I was working with the artists, and the artists liked me, and I was working with the crew, and the crew liked me. And so it was, I'm like huge in like not really letting an artist know if I'm a fan. I don't know if that's like right or wrong, but like when I was an intern at C3, I really got it in my head that like I had to be like super professional all the time. Yeah. So like I never let an artist know that I am a fan of theirs. And I really don't bring up the fact that I want to tour unless it feels natural for both of those things. Totally. And once I reached a point of comfortability with these people and I brought it up naturally, like those people then became like one person in particular, I'm going to give him a shout out, Rory Jones, amazing tour manager. I like mentioned him on site at a festival. I was like, I really would love to tour. And he said, I think you'd be an amazing production coordinator. And then he proceeded to like hand me maybe my hardest day on site ever to like test me. And I guess passed that test.
Yeah, he passed with flying colors, obviously.
Later that year, he asked me to start touring with him.
Yeah.
And I was doing touring on the weekends for them with, I did get approval from C3. I was still full-time at C3, and I started touring only on the weekends with the Black Pumas. And it was such an amazing experience, and I learned so much. And so once I decided to go freelance, I was like, all right, it's time for me to move to New York. Yeah. This job is based in Austin. I'm done with Austin. So it's time for me to move. And so I left C3, which was like absolutely terrifying. I started when I was like 17.
Yeah. so wild.
Like leaving was crazy. And then moving to New York. And like Rory lives here and he was helpful, but at the same time, like freelance was very slow for me starting out. And I think Austin could vouch because he saw all of this. Like there's a lot of moments like when you're just starting touring. I'm sure both of you had these moments where you're like, is it even worth it? Like I'm trying so hard. And for me, like 10 years of experience, I'm like not even getting like called back. Like I'm getting recommended to things and like interviewing and never hearing back, and it like really starts to like
we have a like I don't know if you guys seemed like I feel like there's a friend, there's somebody that I can think of off the top of my head that's like so close to every single time like getting something and then they don't get it or not hearing back, and like
that was me all last year.
I
think it was a swing and a miss all last year.
I think it just kind of comes with the territory, and
it's
like
so tough.
It's a no until it's a yes.
Yeah,
and like
that's you just need just one yes.
Yeah, and that's kind of how it goes.
Yes.
And like,
I think we've all had this moment, and for me, hopefully it continues because this is pretty recent for me. But like, as of maybe early mid this year, I started getting yeses. Yeah, and since then, it's been nonstop.
That's exactly that's literally what it's been for me. It was so again, I started shooting shows in 2015. I was not ready to tour, I know that. Yeah. But I wanted to, and I was asking for it for so long, and it was so many no's or just no responses until fall 2022, and then I quit the job that I was working at the time to tour, and I was like, I'll figure it out, and I've pretty much been on tour since then, and it's kind of it's a no until it's a yes, and then it just snowballs.
And that's so scary too, because I had moments before I went freelance that I could have been like, I'm gonna quit C3 and start touring, but after these 3 weeks, like and I wasn't ready to take that.
Totally, it's scary. I had I think 2 months of guaranteed work, and I didn't have anything else after that, and it just kind of, again, I just kept letting everyone that I met know. I was like, hey, I'm touring full time now. Like, it just kind of, a friend that I met through Flipturn recommended me for a tour with Big Wild, and somebody that I met on Big Wild recommended me for Delwater Gap, and it's just like,
and
that's how quickly like this industry is, and I'm sure maybe this is just the entertainment industry in general, but like the music industry is knowing people.
Oh, it's absolutely.
So true. It's just
also
knowing people.
I think not expecting immediate results upon meeting people.
100%.
Like Bianca, so to loop back around to what you were saying, Bianca, one of our very good friends who works for Vampire Weekend, I met her through C3 because I was doing artist relations, she was doing artist transportation on site at festivals, and then that's how I met her, and it just turned out that Austin and her toured together for a little bit too.
That was with Hosier. That's how I knew her. Yeah,
and so I got to know her even more through that, and then like we had a loose friendship. Not loose friendship. We were friends. We just didn't see each other. Yeah, that's how this industry is for years, like years and years. And then one day, she reached out to me because she knew I was in New York, and they had an SNL. They were playing SNL.
That's what it was. You went. She went and fucking did Saturday Night Live.
Yeah, I remember
with
that.
Vampire Weekend.
That was
like hours notice. Notice. So maybe a day. Whatever.
I was working on the Met Gala. That's not touring related.
Oh my god, that's right. I forgot you went and fucking did Met Gala.
This was the craziest week of my life, and we adopted Merlin, and we moved
the same week.
No, that was so. You were on tour.
He was on tour.
Yeah, check this shit out.
We adopted Merlin. I was doing the Met Gala.
I was on tour. It was during the Maybe Man tour, so it was just the summer.
Yeah.
We found Merlin on. We were like, maybe we should get a new dog, and we just whatever.
No.
We're impulsive people. And we just fucking did it.
It wasn't that. It was because after the Maybe Man tour, you knew you were gonna take a break for just a little bit.
Yeah.
And we were like, now's the perfect time to get another dog.
Yeah, and
because you're gonna have a break from touring. We just didn't expect to find one so fast.
Yeah, and then we found Merlin.
That was just a crazy week.
I flew. I was in OKC. I flew to New York, picked him up, brought him home, and was on the next flight back to OKC at 4 or 5 in the morning. I was literally here
They were
for
like,
less than,
if you want Merlin, you have to pick him up tomorrow.
You need to come get him.
And he was like, can you? And I was like, it's literally like, no, I'm so deep in Met Gala right now. It's like the day before I'm walking through. So I can't do it.
I literally that day I asked Ryan, I was like, this is what's happening. Can I I'll be back before you even wake up tomorrow. And he was like, okay.
Like so wild.
He was. I don't think any artist will ever do that, but he was he was so nice.
You got
he was
lucky.
like, yeah, that's fine. And I went and came back, and then it was day of show, and we didn't miss anything. But yeah, I mean, we just got Merlin Met Gala.
SNL.
You went and did SNL, met Vampire Weekend for like the first time.
No, but the way that like that week, I called Austin. The movers were knocking on the front door. I was on FaceTime with Austin, like snot running down my face, having a full-blown panic attack.
So hot.
Because I'm texting, like, so I worked with Tom Brown at the Met Gala, and I was working with 6, like, just huge celebrities, and, like, there are people
Didn't you work
texting
with
me.
Cynthia?
Yep.
Whoa, wicked!
Wow. Crazy.
But like they're texting me. The Met Gala's the next day. The movers are knocking on the door. Merlin's like throwing up in a corner or something. And I'm like, I'm shaking. I'm like, I can't do it.
Yeah, he's like 20 pounds less than he is now. He's just a shaking. He's like dying in the corner. He's like, I don't know where I am.
That was the most amazing experience of my like few weeks of my life, but also like please so Lord hectic. Never put me back in that situation. I'm not mentally strong enough. But so Bianca called me while I was working on the Met Gala. And was like, hey, Vampire, all she said was VW. Or no. She says she was like, a band I'm working with is doing a show on this day. Are you in town? And I would like to say I had a flight booked to go and visit my mom in Dallas. And I was like, oh, sorry, like, I'm going to go visit family.
And were you going to come to an AJR show, too?
Yeah, I was.
Yeah, you were. You were going to come to the Austin show.
Yeah, this was, like, right after.
Yeah, that's right.
And, like, right after the Met Gala. And I had all these things booked, and I was like, well, like, I'm supposed to go out of town, but, like, what is it? Like, maybe I can find someone who can help. And she was like, I know you just moved to New York, and I immediately thought of you. And she was like, VW is doing SNL, and I think you'd be the perfect fit. And I was like, who's VW? I literally texted her being like, I was Googling VW, VW band.
I thought it was and, like, Volkswagen or something.
Nothing was, all that
car's putting on a show.
Everything that came to mind, I just kept being like, Vera Wang.
I can't be
So I was like, just out of curiosity, like, who's VW? And she was like, oh, Vampire Weekend. And I literally canceled my flight. I canceled my flight that day, and I was like, I'll be there.
Oh, I'm so fired up. Like, what a cool thing to, like, done. Even if it's just those 2 days. And
so it was only supposed to be 2 days, 2-3 days of work. She had a conflict. So I was just her stand-in.
Yeah.
And I met everyone, and honestly, that gig, I kept texting Austin. It was, like, such a surreal thing. I had just come off of Met Gala was, like, so intense. And then I was just her stand-in. Like, she had already done all the advancing. It was basically just getting people like food,
because they were still on tour.
Making sure everyone was fed and got to the venue on time. So I had so much downtime, and it felt so weird because like I'm in this incredible atmosphere. Yeah. Like if you guys have either of you done SNL?
I've never done SNL.
It's like the most insane, like, because I did Fallon recently, and like SNL just Fallon's like cool. Functions at such a different level because the sets are moving in and out constantly. It's just like the most wild thing.
Sick.
So I'm in this like really space, like insane space, but I'm like downtime. Like I was like, I feel like I should be doing something right now. But basically, like I just got on really well with the crew and the band, and so fast forward, I'm on tour with Regina. She asks me to hold dates for the exact same time as their entire fall tour, and I was like, oh my god, I'm gonna do a full fall tour with Vampire Weekend. I follow up a few weeks later, and she's like, oh, we still haven't gotten budget approved, I'll let you know. I didn't know what the role was gonna be or anything, and then I just never heard back, and I was like, oh, that sucks, you know. It was like a one-time thing. So thankful for that. And then I had just gotten off tour with,
this is such a cool story.
I had just gotten off tour with Regina, and 2 days later got a call and jumped on
Regina Spektor for those.
Regina Spektor.
Yeah, just in case.
She's amazing. Then jumped on Black Pumas super last minute. I'd been home for a day. Yeah. And I was helping Regina with a project she's working on, and I get a call from Bianca. She's like, I want you to fly out tomorrow to Boston. I want you on the last 2 weeks of this tour. We're doing like
night before.
We're doing 2 sold out nights.
What a phone call.
Madison Square Garden. We're doing the TD. TD Garden. Cool. We're doing my bucket list like venue that I've been wanting to go to is the Anthem in DC. They did 2 nights at the Anthem, and I was like, I just can't miss this. Anthem, yeah. But again, it was one of those situations, like, I think Austin was out of town. We have 2 dogs now. Yeah. Like, it just, like, I had to cancel a lot of things to make it work. But I got on that train.
You made it work.
I literally, because, you were thinking, like, well, maybe I can go like, in a few days. And I went, your ass needs to be on that train tomorrow.
So she actually, she told me, she was like, you can come later. Then I was like, I don't want to. I had this opportunity to be with them for 2 weeks. Like, I want to.
Once in a lifetime. Yeah. Just go. Do it.
And I think, too, like, I don't know, you mentioned, like, somewhere in that story, it's kind of like, it's not always immediate. And you mentioned, like, not wanting to let people know, hey, I'm looking to tour until it feels appropriate. And I think that it just reminded me of, I think, something in touring that is, like, so important that I don't think any of us have mentioned yet is, like, it is only partially how good at your job you are. That is, like, honestly such a small part of it, is like being good at production coordinating, being good at merch managing, being good at photo, video, like whatever. So much of it is like being an easy person to be around, being like a good energy to be around, because if these artists are like bringing us into their space for months at a time, like they don't want to bring someone around that they don't vibe with, they don't gel with. Like, I think
you're living with each other on a bus, so like you need to be okay to like live.
Exactly.
Like your talent is what gets you in the door. Your personality, your vibe is what
keeps you there, and what gets you brought back. Like it's it's just that's I think the biggest thing that I've learned in all of this is like so much of it is like just being able to get along with people and being kind. And like,
I also have to remind myself of that sometimes. Not like me being like, it's not about me, but just being like, these people are why we're all here. Especially when I'm doing like personal assisting stuff. Like if there's at all any sort of like outlandish request, which isn't like usually outlandish, but if it feels a little bit like extra, it's because like that's the tool that they need to put on their best show.
Something I want to touch on, like you kind of said, like the however many people that are coming to the show is like why we're doing this. I think that's something else that's like really special about these roles that we get to fill. At least for me, it's like I get to play a really small part in like putting on this event that so many people look forward to.
Isn't that such a special thing that you fall in love with, that totally. You feel so insignificant, and you see the larger picture.
100%.
Right? That's what it's about.
Getting to document it too is like so special for me. But it's like, it's so, I don't know, there's something about like, it's very easy when you're touring and you're, I did, I think 123 shows this year, and it's just it's so easy to get lost in that and to kind of be like, okay, it's the same thing night in, night out. And it's, those nights that I remember, like, wow, like, these people in Salt Lake City, Utah, these people in Los Angeles, these people in, you know, wherever else I am in the country, in the world, like, it's like they, you know, they probably bought tickets for this months ago and they've been looking forward to it and they're so excited and like they finally get to see this artist that they love, and like I have a small hand in like bringing that to them, and like that is just such it feels like a very like privileged position to be in. It's like, oh wow, like
I have goosebumps. I don't have any arm hair, but it's there. But it's there.
I think I feel that way mainly when I'm doing photo and video. Yeah. I don't always feel that way when I'm working behind the scenes.
You can't really look out. There was
when I'm doing PC or personal assisting, like it's pretty rare that I'm actually like at the show. I'm like I'm doing something else.
Man, there was and this just happened. I was just out doing video for Casey Musgraves for her Deeper Well tour, and I think this was night 1 at Barclays Center. I don't know how often she actually like looks at the people like right at the front of the barricade, but I was at the pit, and it was probably halfway through the show, and I kind of look around, and like there's usually kind of the same, you know, depending whatever artist it is, you can kind of see the same demographic of people that are there like in the front for whatever the show is. And I look in the front, and it's about good amount of like people from like the LGBTQ community, a lot of, you know, preteen, teenage girls or whatever. And then in the middle of all of that, I see this couple, had to be in their 70s, and they were dead center, just so cool, looking up like this, and they both just had like their ears in. And the best thing about it was when I was looking at them, it was during slow burn. Every single person had their phone out. They were the only ones just looking up, and he's just holding her, watching. And then he just goes and gives her a big old kiss on the cheek. And then she just puts her hand like this on his hand. And they just start swaying. And everyone is, you know, obviously singing Slow Burn. Yeah. Everyone's got their phones out. And some people are even just still trying to like look at their phones. Yeah. They're the only ones kind of in that moment. Man, I fucking cried. I literally like, I wanted to so bad, because the way her pit was sort of structured, I wanted to so badly just get my camera and be like, don't move, but I just need to get it. Like, let me get it in 6K slow-mo.
I'll
make it look good. Yeah. And I actually, like, by the time I had gotten back to see if I could get it, it was kind of just an impossible angle. And I just thought, you know what? I'm gonna let this one go. Yeah. And I held that with me for, I don't even know if I told you about it. I held it with me for the next couple of days, and it's just one of those things. Like, I had brought it up to her road manager like that night. I was like, man, you forget sometimes like what we're capable of doing as a group of people. Like, obviously people go to the show to see Casey Musgraves, but
it's everyone that's like putting
the show together. And he was just like, oh yeah, man, I know exactly what you mean. And he was just like, yeah, people forget all the time. And he's like, nope, I always try to give myself just 1 or 2 minutes to just go out and just see the show and like come back. And he's like, 'cause I'm doing a bunch of stuff, you know, and you know, until the show ends. But just to kind of go off of like what you were saying, like how powerful.
I agree. I had a lot of moments like that actually with Regina, because even though I was doing personal assisting, I was doing photo during the show.
Yeah, you were.
But what's so special about at least that specific tour, because it was just her and her piano.
Yeah.
When I tell you, like, no one had their phones out. And, like, no one was singing along either. It was, like...
Was there a rule, or just... That was no one just had their phone out?
It was, like... Wow. I mean, some people would, like, pull it out sometimes, but for the most part, everyone was just, like, really, like...
paying attention,
listening. And, like, you could hear a pin drop in that room when she wasn't playing. And I just think that's so special. Like, Regina hasn't put out new music in a while. She just re-recorded her first album, Songs, out now.
That's so cool.
That's the plug. That's the plug.
But I've been listening to her music since I was very young, and she was like such a big part of my like musical life as a child. And
me too. Everyone knows Regina's back there. Are you kidding me?
Samson, it's like
500 Days of Summer. Come on, where's the? God.
Like, seeing these people, I think a lot of these people feel the same way, and she doesn't tour all the time. So getting to see it live, it just it feels like almost like coming home to like a younger version of yourself, and you can really feel that at her shows. Like, And because I've got to be in the crowd for those shows, it was like palpable. It was really cool.
No, I think like you said, it's like you know her music, and so it's like you have that connection to it. And I think, I don't know, yeah, there are just moments where I'm reminded of like I come from like being a fan of music. That's like why
that's what it is. Yeah, me too. That's
the only reason
that's my life is music.
I am a fan. I like started going to shows when I was like 13, 14, and it's like I love live music. And so those moments when I'm reminded of like, oh, like every other single person in this room also loves live music. Yeah. And like
you're going to church. It's
you know,
just,
actually,
you know?
and like I get to it's like I get to document that connection between like these people coming to like see this artist who's like made music that they resonate with, and like I get to be a part of like bringing the show to them. And like, you know, this summer was like the largest scale that I've ever seen that on with the Nile tour. And like, I mean, there were so many, I feel like every night I would go out for a song or two of Nile. And I mean, he's had, you know, obviously a very notable career in so many ways. And like getting to see these people that were traveling to multiple shows. And I was finding people in the crowd, and these crowds of like 10, 15, 20,000 people. And I was like, oh, I saw you the other night. And I'm like, that's just, these people are just like so immersed in it, and they've traveled and they show up so early, and they're so dedicated. And like this night means so much to them. I'm like, oh my God, this is just so special and so cool that like I get to play like the tiniest little role in like this whole thing. And like, I don't know. Yeah.
For me, it's really easy to forget that, because I was the person all throughout college, not really in high school. Like, to be honest, like, I think it's changed a lot now, but when I grew up in Hong Kong, like the music scene was, you had your Taylor Swift.
What's it like out there? Yeah. Explain the Hong Kong
Biebers
scene.
And like peak of the top coming to the arenas. But you're not getting these, any small local artists shows, coming because it's expensive to tour Asia. It's expensive to go to Hong Kong. And of course, like there is a local music scene there. It just like wasn't the sort of music I was listening to.
Yeah.
I didn't know it was a career, but so, you know, flash forward, I moved to the US. I'm in college in the US, and like I am waiting after the show every single night trying to meet the artist. I have a collection of records all signed, and like I was that fan.
Yeah, me too. I think we the three of us were literally that. Like, just wait. When I first met Robert DeLong, it was the same way. Yeah, I literally
my whole life was like wanting to meet these artists. And I think it's really easy for me to forget that, and like maybe because I've been in the industry so long, but when I was social media manager and I was going to shows 6 times a week for work, I started going right when the headliner came on. I wasn't staying for the whole thing because I wanted to avoid traffic. I'd go into my pajamas. It just became like work for me. And I think it's easy, maybe especially in my roles, because like I'm awake. I'm first one in the building for load-in. I'm the last one out, making sure everyone's on the bus. Yeah. Like first one up, first one out type thing. I mean, last one out type thing. It's like you're exhausted, and I think it's really easy to just feel it as a job. But like, it's really important to have moments like that of being like, wait, this is why I'm here. Cool. This is so special. This is why I work so hard.
No, it is. Touring is like genuinely so exhausting, and it is so much harder in like so many ways that I did not expect it to be, for so many reasons. It's not that the work is always necessarily hard, but just like you're away from what you know for so long. Like it's just really taxing for so many reasons. And I think because of that, and because it's so exhausting, it is really easy to lose sight of like why I love it so much. So it is always very refreshing when I like have those moments of like, okay, this is why. And it kind of I feel like it just like resets fully, and I'm like, oh, okay, cool. Like
I think
like, damn, I'm grateful. Like, this is so cool. Like, this is all I've ever wanted. This is my dream job, and like I'm doing it like at this scale. Yeah. And it's like, it's really, really, really special, and like something that even the moments where I'm like, oh God, like I'm tired and like I want to go home, I feel like that only lasts for a day or so, and then I gotta reset, and I'm like, oh, cool, I'm back.
I know that feeling so well.
I think moments like that are also important in times where I think we've all been on tours that haven't been the best. We don't have to go into anything but obviously.
Yeah, no, the three of us have been. Yeah, there's some. I'm sure there was some kind of whatever.
I've been on tours where I literally was like, I don't think I want to do this. If this is what touring is like, it's not worth it.
Yeah.
And so I think having those moments makes it so important, at least, or like variations of those moments, right? So like you can find like little glimmers in bad situations too, even if it's like an album. I had an album on the tour that I'm thinking of that I would just put on and listen to on replay, like anytime if I was just alone in my bunk for like the 3 hours I was alone on my bunk, in my bunk, that I was just like listening to, that I was like, this is why I'm doing this, to work with artists like this. And I think like, or like seeing someone in the crowd that's crying over their music and like really feeling it makes those like not so ideal situations like feel worth it.
Or even like what we mentioned, like somebody, like I could be having a bad day, I'm just tired, it's been like tough, like a box broke and shirts went everywhere, like something, anything, and then someone comes up to me at merch and they're like I love your work, and I'm like, oh, like thank you. And it's just like,
I will put away that extra box today. Like
everything's fine. Why was I upset? Yeah. Like it changes the trajectory of your day. Like I feel like there are so many of those like little moments that kind of just like make everything okay for a little bit. Totally. And it's like, oh, cool. Like this is all worth, like this is worth the exhaustion. It's worth like the mental and the emotional like kind of taxation that you go through. Like it's worth being away from home. It's like worth all of it to like get to be in this space and like do this as a job. And
it is kind of addicting. I mean, every single time Austin's like, I've been out for 3 months, I just want to see my dogs, I want to sleep in my own bed, he'll be like talking to me being like, there's nothing I want more than being home. And then
I get homesick.
He gets so homesick.
I get so homesick.
But then I'll be like, just wait, you're gonna get home, you're gonna sleep for 3 days straight, you're gonna play RuneScape for a week, and then you're gonna be like, get me back out. Like I'm ready. Yeah.
I mean, I spent most of this year on tour, and like I've been home for like 4 or 5 weeks now, and I'm like, oh, okay. And I spent a lot of this year being like, oh, I'm so ready. I moved to New York, and then I left. Like I was here for like 5 days.
Yeah.
And then I left.
did the same thing.
Yeah.
I moved to New York.
I also did the same thing.
And then I was in here for 7 months.
No, it was
mine
literally,
was much shorter, but I also was left.
But literally that, and I was like, God, like I wanna enjoy my apartment. I wanna enjoy my friends and like living in the city. And now I've been here for like 4 or 5 weeks, and I'm like, okay, cool. Like I'm ready to like I'm ready to go out again. Yeah. I'm like, cool, great. Yeah.
I hate to say it.
I know.
I think we're here.
Yeah. We've made it to the end.
All right. Well, great. That was the first episode of Please.
Yay.
Please Tag Me.
Oh yeah, please.
Yeah, that was the first episode of Please Tag Me. I know. I keep forgetting. All right. Well, that's okay. Thanks for watching or thanks for listening wherever you are. And see you later.